Hi everybody, I'm Andrea Miller and I'm a registered dietitian and certified diabetes educator here at Community Hospitals and Wellness Centers in Bryan. And I'd like to welcome you all to Live It, Try Something New in the new year. So our something new that we're going to try today is this vegetable. And I was quizzing everybody before we started today on what this vegetable was, and nobody could guess. This is called a jicama, or a jicama, some people call it. Some people also call it a Mexican potato, but in my opinion, it's pretty far away from a potato. It doesn't really taste like a potato. So you can find these things locally if you're lucky. I found them at Walmart in the past. Definitely, if you're in a bigger town like Defiance or Fort Wayne, Toledo, you'll certainly be able to find them at the grocery store. But I'm going to show you 3 different ways to use a jicama today, some of my favorite ways. So it's a very versatile vegetable. If I had to describe the flavor, I would describe it, some people do say it's a little bit like a potato, but it doesn't taste like a potato at all. And I really enjoy it raw more than cooked. Some people say it's almost like an apple. It has the texture of an apple. It's a little bit sweet, but not as sweet as an apple or a pear, some people describe it. Other people say it's like a water chestnut. But regardless, you should definitely buy a jicama the next time you see one, or now you'll know what this is and you'll maybe pick it up. Definitely pick up a jicama and try it out. It's one of my favorite vegetables. Okay, so our first recipe that we're gonna do is a baked jicama fry. So for this recipe, let's see which one I'm gonna start with. You wanna cut them in French fry sized pieces. So I'm gonna just start slicing it. Now, something to remember with these jicama fries, they're going to be quite a bit different than your typical potato French fry. They're actually going to stay a little bit crunchy. They don't get that nice, crisp and soft, crisp exterior with a soft interior. That's definitely not, what a jicama fry is. Again, if you're looking for that potato French fry, you're probably not going to satisfy your craving with this type of fry, but it's still, a really delicious way to prepare jicama, especially if you're looking for more of a cooked type of dish. And they're just cut in French fry sized pieces, and I'm going to drizzle just a little bit of oil, preferably like an avocado oil that has a higher temperature smoke point. And then I'm going to add a little bit of spice to it. So I'm going to add some turmeric and just like a quarter to a half of a teaspoon, just a little bit to give it some spice and some color. And then I have some garlic powder, a half teaspoon of garlic powder, and a half teaspoon of onion powder, and just a bit of salt and pepper. Again, just a tiny bit of salt and pepper to taste, and then just toss them around. So again, this is just a super easy recipe. Okay, so you just toss the seasoning around, make sure they're all coated in oil and seasoning, and then I have a parchment-lined baking sheet, so I'm just going to dump them out on that and line them up, and then flip them, and then bake them for another 30 minutes. And so again, we're just going to spread them out, kind of make sure they're not touching. That looks good to me. Again, 400-degree oven. I'm actually going to go run and throw those in the oven right now, and then we'll get a chance to see what they look like when they're done. The next dish I'm going to do is a jicama fruit salad. And luckily, when I was running down to the oven to put our fries in, I happened to find a jicama that's a little bit more white on the inside. So we're going to use that for our raw dishes today. And eating a jicama raw is actually my favorite way to eat a jicama because it just has this beautiful sweet crunch that I really enjoy. A popular way to serve it is just, cutting it into slices and sprinkling it with just a little bit of lime juice and some chili powder. That's a traditional appetizer. But again, one of my favorite ways to serve it is in a fruit salad. It's a very kid-friendly application of using a jicama because you're combining the sweet fruit and then the jicama as a vegetable. So it's a fruit and vegetable fruit salad. So it makes a nice side dish that's especially kid-friendly. So for this dish, we're going to cut the jicama in just little cubes. And you can use as much or as little jicama as you'd like in a salad like this. So one thing that I didn't mention when I was making the fries, a popular question would be, what's the carb content of jicama? If it's like a potato, or people, call it a Mexican potato, is it starchy like a potato too? There is some carbohydrate in a jicama, but definitely not nearly as much as a potato. In a cup of jicama, there's only about 12 grams of carbohydrate, and actually 6 of those grams, so half of the carbohydrate that's in a jicama, is fiber. So your body's not going to absorb it as readily as other types of carbohydrate. So again, just dicing this nice and small. And again, there's measurement suggestions on the recipes, but you can definitely add as much or as little as you like. And now for this recipe, I'm actually going to keep it more of a tropical type of theme. And I forgot, the first step is usually to put some lime juice and honey in. I'm going to use about 3 tablespoons, and I'm just going to squeeze it right in the bottom here before I add any more fruits. You can use any fruit in this recipe. Again, I just chose more of a tropical theme since jicama is a warm weather or warm climate fruit, and it pairs ticely with tropical fruits, but you certainly don't have to use tropical fruits with it. So since our theme today is jicama, I have all sorts of jicama trivia planned for today. So another interesting fact about the jicama is it's actually in I don't know if you'd say it's in the bean family, but the jicama plant actually grows a bean on it. In fact, another name for the jicama is the yam bean. The bean, however, of the jicama plant is toxic. So if anybody's thinking about trying to grow jicama, remember not to eat, not that you could grow jicama in this area, but remember the bean part of it is not edible. Then the last fruit I thought we'd add today is a mango. Now this mango seems pretty firm. We'll cut it open and see. What I like to do for a mango is cut it along the sides. There's a big pit in the middle of the mango. You can see it's right in the center there. Actually, it's okay. And what I like to do is take the peeling off around the sides. And then just cut away any fruit from the sides, which there's not a ton left on this one. You can kind of decide which knife works best for you. So yeah, that's pretty much all pit there. And then this part of it, I take my knife and score it. Don't cut all the way through the skin though, just cut the fruit. And this kind of does all the work for you. So just score it. And I might be cutting the fruit, or the skin actually, and then what I do is I pop it out like that, kind of looks like a hedgehog. And then you can just slice the little pieces of mango right into your salad. So lots of tropical fruits here. And speaking of tropical fruits, if you were to look for mango in the grocery store, you would find it near a lot of the tropical fruits. in the grocery store. That's where they usually put it, next to the plantains and the dragon fruit if they have it, or any of the unusual fruits that you would not normally see in the grocery store. So that looks good to me. We'll save that for later. Maybe we'll cut up a little bit of this. If you really want to get fancy with this salad, you could chop up a little bit of fresh mint and put in it, although you don't have to by any means. You could also put in a little bit of the lime zest if you'd like. So we're gonna stir that up. And now this salad is best if you let it sit in the refrigerator for a few hours before serving, so that the jicama has a little bit of time to absorb all of the sweetness and the flavors from the fruits. All right, there you go, all ready to serve now. So we'll move right on into our third and final recipe for today, which is a jicama slaw. So again, we're going to take that jicama. We are using pineapple. I guess since we have the pineapple out, I'm going to start by adding that. And I'm going to slice the pineapple a little bit thinner and smaller for this recipe. And now this recipe, again, you can make some changes to it as well. We're using carrots in this recipe, but you could swap out the carrots for a red, like a sweet red pepper. We're gonna use a jalapeno, but you can leave that out if you don't like spice. If you want a different kind of spice, you can add some cayenne pepper to the dressing instead of the jalapeno. So I'm just chopping my pineapple nice and fine for this recipe. So little tiny pieces, because again, it is a slaw, and usually a slaw is small pieces. So as I was coming up with recipes to use today, I was thinking of ways to use this slaw and to throw back to other recipes that we've done on Live It. I think a perfect pairing for this slaw would be our crock pot pork loin that has kind of an Asian twist with the soy sauce. And you can find those recipes all online. But you could either just serve it with the pork roast as a side dish, or something that I like to do with that pork recipe, and it's my favorite to do with leftovers because it's a really quick meal. I like to serve it in tacos. Get some nice like street taco tortillas. I prefer corn tortillas, but you can do corn or flour tortillas, and put the pork and then serve the slaw on top of it. And I mean, my mouth is literally watering right now thinking about eating that for dinner. So that would be a perfect pairing. It goes really well with, also a fish taco would be another idea. So we did a fish taco a couple years ago. So again, this slaw would be perfect with a fish taco. Any like Asian or Mexican dishes would pair perfectly with this slaw. So the next thing we're going to add is our carrots, and I'm taking a shortcut here. I'm just using the julienne or matchstick cut carrots that come pre-cut in the store. Certainly you can cut them yourself, but I mean it's a pain to get them that small. So it's an easy, inexpensive shortcut to save you some time. Again, julienne red peppers would also, sweet red bell peppers would be another alternative for the carrots. Okay, so now the jicama. So again, since we're doing a slaw and we want the jicama to be thinly sliced, I'm going to cut this a little bit differently. So again, as you can see, I've cut the jicama in 3 different ways. so far today. The first one was the thicker cut French fries, and then we have diced into the salad, and now we're going to, we want them ideally roughly the same size as our carrots. So I'm just thinly slicing, that was maybe too thin, thinly slicing the jicama. And then I'm going to stack them all on top of each other and turn them. And again, just thinly slice in the other direction. So then you have these nice thin slices, again, roughly the same size as those carrots in there. Go. As you can see, the tip of my knife is never leaving the cutting board. I'm just kind of rocking my knife back to make thin, even slices. I'm probably going to do a few more thin slices. That doesn't look like quite enough jicama. Okay. Again, just lining them up to make my work easier, go faster. Right. There we go. So we'll add that in. As you can see, it's just a really pretty, vibrantly colored salad already. We'll start stirring it up a little bit. Get the flavors going, mixed together. We're going to add a little bit of green with our jalapeno and cilantro and red onion. Red onion is also optional. You don't necessarily need it. The seeds of the jalapeno you can either take out or leave in, depending on how spicy you like your food. I like pretty spicy things, so. But being respectful of other people that might try this today, we'll take them out. And again, you want to keep these pretty small as well. So again, the jalapeno is totally optional, so if you don't like spice, feel free to leave it out. That's good. I'm just going to even run my knife through it a little bit more, just to make sure we don't have any big pieces. And it is nice that I'm wearing gloves for this part of it. Normally you don't have gloves at home, but the jalapeno can can make your hands burn a little bit. So if you do have gloves, you might like to wear them to cut up your spicy peppers. And again, you want this to be pretty small because you don't want to necessarily bite into a big chunk of red onion. I like the red onion because I think it adds a color element that we don't have yet. It's adding a nice purple. I know it's called a red onion, but I think it's more purple in color. So we don't necessarily have that yet in our salad. We have orange and green and yellow. So now we're going to add just a touch of purple. That right in. I think it's a really pretty lavender purple as well. All right. And then we're going to make our dressing. Okay. So I have, and again, you can add as much as you want, but about 2 teaspoons of honey. Just eyeballing it. A little bit of salt and pepper. Now, as you can see on this recipe, there's some options for seasoning. You can just stick to straight salt and pepper. Again, some people, like I said, instead of the jalapeno, or if you like it really spicy, you can add cayenne and jalapeno, but you can choose either or. If you just want to add a little bit of cayenne pepper to the dressing, that's fine. Just a tiny bit of salt in there. And then our cilantro. Give that a quick chop. Now the cilantro has already been washed for me. All my vegetables and produce have been pre-washed for me, but just as a reminder at home, you'll want to make sure you're washing all your produce well. Giving the cilantro a quick chop. And again, you're kind of, with the jicama, it goes really well with those Mexican flavors of lime and cilantro, jalapeno, you know, just a very traditional combination. I love the smell of chopped cilantro. It's one of my favorite smells in the world is fresh cilantro. Okay, and then our lime juice. And you could also add some lime zest to it as well. Juice of 2 limes, so we're just going to squeeze 2 limes into our bowl and stir it up and then add it to our slaw, and then we are set. So pretty simple recipes here. Again, I love jicama raw. Again, I love that sweet crunch. It's probably one of my family's favorite vegetables lately to eat raw. You can just simply serve it with your favorite dip. In my house, you know, I have young kids. Kids love ranch. You know, we'll just have it with ranch. I'll cut it up in sticks and serve it with ranch. Guacamole pairs, raw sticks pair really well with guacamole. A throwback to last month when we did the cranberry dip or salsa. It would go really well with the cranberry salsa, especially with the cream cheese with it. I did that for a snack when I was coming up with the cranberry recipes, and it was just the best snack that I've had. And that's how this kind of all came about, is I talked about jicama and I realized that nobody's had jicama. So now you know all about jicama, and hopefully you'll give it a try. Just squeezing lots of lime juice in there. And again, feel free to adjust. And these actually are bigger limes, so I might stop here with this one. It looks like I have quite enough juice in there. And I'll just give it a stir. Have that honey there in the bottom that's not dissolved yet, so I'm just kind of mixing it in. Make sure I don't feel any stickiness from the honey, and then I'm just going to pour it over the slaw and mix it together. That looks beautiful, and it smells so good. I can smell the honey, the cilantro, I can smell the onion. So again, this would pair beautifully as a side dish, or again, I'm craving tacos now. That is the only thing I can think about. I can't wait to make this slaw and some tacos, not necessarily your typical taco, but a nice pork taco or fish taco would be perfect with this slaw. That looks delicious. Okay, pour that into our serving bowl. All right. And again, you can let this sit for a couple of hours in the refrigerator. Definitely cover it, both these salads, cover and refrigerate to let the flavors blend together. All right, so now the last thing I need to do, I need to go get our French fries and serve those. I have our guacamole all ready for our French fries. Well, let me go grab those out of the oven real quick. All right, well, I'm actually surprised. I went and pulled our jicama fries out of the oven, and they look better than I could have ever expected. We have a convection oven here at the hospital, and it took a lot of the moisture right out of them. When I did them at home, they did not get this crispy, but they look beautifully crispy right now. I'm gonna load them onto a plate here. So again, you can serve these however you want, but I'd suggest serving them with some guacamole. So again, when I made them at home, they weren't quite this crispy, but these look remarkably similar to French fries. The turmeric gives them a nice spice and a nice color, but if turmeric isn't your thing, you don't have to add that. You can really season these in any way that you'd like. So my turmeric, garlic, onion, salt and pepper is just a suggestion. Feel free to get creative with this. Another thing I forgot to mention in the beginning, again, they don't get real soft on the inside. Even though these are nice and crisp, they're not soft in the middle. They are very crunchy when you bite into them. They have a bite to them, kind of a concept of maybe an al dente pasta. There's a bite that's different than a potato. So don't bite into these expecting to taste a potato French fry. They're much different than a potato French fry, but very, very delicious. They almost have a sweetness. The sweetness intensified in the jicama as it was cooked. So there's a definite sweetness with the fry. So I'd encourage you to give them a try. Again, I really enjoy them. If you have an air fryer, that would be another route that you could cook these French fries. And I guess what I forgot to say twice now, what I was going to say where I was going with that, if you want them to be a little bit softer, you can pre-boil them before cooking them. So when you slice the jicama, you can pop them in some boiling water or steam them a little bit before baking them, and that will make them a little bit softer because again, these have a definite crunch still to them, even though they baked for a good amount of time in the oven. I don't like boiling things. Again, it adds an extra step. I enjoy the crunch. I don't need them to be soft, so that's why I chose to leave it out. Also remember that if you put something in boiling water, you're losing nutrients every time because the water-soluble nutrients, the vitamin C, a lot of that is leaching out with the water. So again, I'd encourage you to try it just as is, and I don't think you'll be disappointed with any of these recipes, with our fruit salad, with our slaw, or with our fries. So 3 very different ways to serve jicama here. So next time you're at the store and you see a jicama, I'd encourage you to pick one up and give it a try. Even if you don't make a recipe, just serve it raw with some dip, and I think you and your family will really enjoy it. Thanks for joining me today, and I look forward to seeing you all soon at our next Live It. Thank you.